Hi there, my name is Saurabh Nanda, and I am a career mentor working with people between the ages of 10 to 40. Well, in the last few years, multiple platforms, multiple forums, multiple leadership statements have encouraged a lot of Indians to actually focus on entrepreneurship. And we frequently get requests from school students, their parents, and teachers to talk about entrepreneurship as a career. We take sessions for media, we've taken sessions for university students as to how to make entrepreneurship a career choice, right? Now, why is entrepreneurship, first of all, a good career choice? And where does all of this come from? Um, why do we need to consider entrepreneurship as a career where somebody can just go for a very stable kind of a job? Let's start from the beginning. Indians have always been extremely enterprising people. We've had historical records. The most recent one is a book by William Dalrymple, the famous historian. And I think the name of the book is called The Golden Sea Route or something like that. But fantastic book anyway. You should definitely read it. It talks about the Indian trade going back some 2000, 2500 years ago. It talks about how Indian pepper was considered very, very valuable in the Greek, Egyptian, and Roman civilizations. It talks about how the value of Indian goods was tremendous in those days. So, who was supplying all those, wonderful Indian things to, the Western world at that time, which is Europe and Northern Africa and Middle East, and also Southeast Asia? They were traders. They were Indian merchants. So India has this huge, very, very rich, diverse history about entrepreneurship, people solving other people's problems. Now, this is the basis for this. If you consider the British colonial rule over India, you will understand that the education system that they imposed on us um, was one of servitude, wherein they needed workers, they needed knowledge workers, they needed laborers, they needed blue collar workers, they needed every kind of worker, they needed soldiers, but they also needed them to speak English, understand the instructions and orders given by the British Empire, so that they could work accordingly. And that is the kind of workforce they produced by the education system that they imposed on us. Post independence, for a lot of reasons, good or bad, we chose not to become an completely capitalistic society, which meant social stability, economic stability, security. All these things came from having a good service-based career. And it's not only unique to India. Looking for these securities, people in Japan used to go for jobs also. It's just that they wouldn't go for more private enterprise jobs than others. Similar things happen in South Korea. Salary man is actually a term in Japan. So a lot of cultures across the world, they moved more away from, I would say, they moved away from capitalistic tendencies or setting up companies and enterprises towards finding a job and then finding security and stability in that um, ecosystem, which did not provide a lot of growth for them, but did provide long term security. Now, that cannot sustain for very long. Why? Because there can only be so many jobs available, first of all. For a huge country like with having 1.45 billion people, like a country like India, there will just not be enough jobs. And this has been happening for the last 15, 20 years, where a huge section of our society has, been moved from one status to another, hundreds of millions of people literally, but there were not enough opportunities for them. There were not enough jobs in the industry or the government sector to absorb them fully. Even now there are some jobs available, but they are not enough to absorb everyone. That is why there is a push towards entrepreneurship. That is why there is a push towards local innovation. There is a push towards technological innovation and so on. If you think you can solve somebody's problem, go ahead. Start doing that, because that is essentially what entrepreneurship is. Now, a lot of parents ask, okay, what is the scope of this? There is endless scope, but provided you develop the mindset of an entrepreneur is a ridiculously and sometimes hopelessly and unrealistically optimistic person. An entrepreneur does not care what the rest of the world is thinking and will still keep doing what they feel in their gut is right and is needed by the market. They're not afraid of failure. They marry failure. They're not afraid of taking chances. They're not afraid of putting everything at risk. And those people become some of the strongest, most successful people in the world. I'm not saying the entrepreneurial journey is easy at all. It is not easy. Entrepreneurship requires more than anything else, more than your aptitude, more than your intelligence, more than your network, more than your capital invested. It requires one thing and one thing only: persistence, doggedness. So if you are ready to do that, go ahead, do that. Because then you might end up doing something fantastic, which nobody else thought was possible, but you achieved it. Now, most parents would not subscribe to this. Why? Because they probably come from a service background wherein they have great jobs paying good money, and they would not want their kids to probably struggle a lot, and just find some stable jobs and everything. Great. The situation is the market does not have jobs anymore. And if you're not entrepreneurial, I will not say everyone has to be an entrepreneur, but if you're not entrepreneurial, your chances of getting those few jobs which are available are also less. You're supposed to create jobs now and not just look for jobs. Who are supposed to create jobs? People who are having excellent privileged education. They're going to the top institutions in the country. Doesn't matter if it's engineering or medicine or biotech or statistics or anything else. If you are in the top colleges of the country, you're supposed to do more than just find a job. Now, there are specialized degrees available. There are minors available in business colleges and liberal arts colleges, engineering colleges, wherein you can do your degree in XXX with a minor in entrepreneurship. Anybody who has a particular skill or who has understood how to solve problems can become an entrepreneur. And you can study the various parts of it, the legal aspect of it, which kind of companies exist, the product part of it, how to create a product or service, understanding how a product becomes successful, product market fit, and so on and so forth, how to create pitches, how to evaluate startups, how to evaluate companies, how to find investors. All those things, they are being taught now formally in your higher education. And not only that, in also in high school at this moment there are incubation centers started by the government of India and by private organizations, um, which are ever present in schools, also in university ecosystems, and so on. So if you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, well, I think this is the best possible time in India to ever to be an entrepreneur. The recent budget also has earmarked more funds. It has made it easier to become an entrepreneur. Access to credit is now easier. Well, India is not that great when it comes to making businesses easy to do, but still we are doing a little bit around it. So it's the best possible time so far to become an entrepreneur. Hopefully things will change. They have to, because otherwise innovation and startups will not grow. We still have one of the largest startup ecosystems in the world. So people accept that you're taking a risk by trying to do something different, by trying to solve a problem which nobody thinks as a problem, maybe, and so on. But you need to understand just one thing. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, please do not hesitate in taking action. If you do not take action, you will not know whether what you wanted to do was right or wrong. You will not know what things to improve if you do not fail. Nobody is judging you. You don't have to judge yourself either. Fail more, fail fast, so that you can learn more, learn better, make things better, and get on with it. A bias towards action is needed. So please go for it. Best of luck.